What if all of creation is a symphony? What if, God forbid, all of creation is an opera? I love opera. Sometimes life feels a bit like an opera, at least my life. We've learned more about the human mind and how we understand language and words in the past 10 years than we have in the entire history of civilization. We've come to understand that infants, and this is really fascinating research, infants understand their mother's language and words as music. They feel them as music. Now, that means that all of us are musicians. It means that to be human is to be a musician. Beethoven liked to think, or liked to imagine, that all of humanity was one great chorus. When Beethoven wrote his Moonlight Sonata, he was only 30 years old, and he was already almost completely deaf. Out of sheer imagination, he was able to create these sounds, these sound worlds of mystery and intrigue. And I'm going to play for you just a few notes of Beethoven's Moonlight Sonata and see if you can understand and feel the word of Beethoven. Think about that. Beethoven, he was able to take this missing piece, his lack of hearing, and transform it, translate it into a bridge for humanity, a portal into the heavens. Imagine that you were missing just one piece in your life. And imagine you spent your whole life and nobody came and gave you that one missing piece. Imagine that you were to stumble upon it. What would you give for that one missing piece? I must have been missing a bit of a piece when I was a kid, because when I graduated from preschool, my teacher took aside my proud parents and said, "I don't think this tyke's quite ready for kindergarten." Now, think about what that takes. I was a preschool graduate, right? I had put in the time, and they weren't going to let me go into kindergarten, right? Now, I was that kid. Somehow, I'm shy. I was always shy as a kid too, and I didn't really know how to use words. I didn't know how to communicate with people using normal means. And so in that year I was held back. I discovered this black box with 88 keys. Only at my house it was a brown box, and it was more vertical, but it still had 88 keys, and it was the most fantastic toy. And I realized very quickly that you could go on flights of imagination, that you could take others with you on journeys of exploration, of emotion, that you could explore the depths of intimacy. You could do all these things with these 88 keys. Now, granted, I'm still 5 years old, and we're talking about chopsticks. But when you're 5, chopsticks is like the finale of Beethoven's Ninth Symphony, right? It's like you're climbing the Himalayas and then you get to ski down. Check this out. This becomes this. Isn't that gorgeous? the dominant into the tonic. This is like the foundation of all Western music. You could even say it's the foundation of all Western civilization. Tension and then release of tension, right? And then whoever that genius who composed Chopsticks is, this is what happens next. Right? But we're not done yet. We're still going up the mountain. Oh, yeah. Right? And then, though, you get to go back down, right? And then it starts all over, and you can do this all day. I'm telling you. And I did. This was my missing piece. When I discovered this black box and that I could do this with, it changed my life. Now, I dedicated the next 18 years or so of my life putting in my 10,000 or 15,000 hours of solitary confinement with this beast in order to master it. And it was absolute bliss. And along the way, I had wonderful opportunities. When I was 12, for the very first time, I performed with the symphony orchestra as a soloist. And imagine there's an orchestra, 70 people. You have an audience. I think we had 500 or 600 in the audience. And we're all experiencing music in real time. And the sounds that were coming at me from the orchestra, unlike anything I could experience here, the minds melding, the emotions melding with everybody in the audience, with everybody in the orchestra, it just really struck me. And it planted a seed. I gave recitals all throughout my teenage years and 20s, but there was something, I felt like something was missing. Around the time I was 25, and I thought, I really want to lead the symphony orchestra. I want to learn how to conduct. And I didn't know how I would do it, but I started studying. But more importantly, I felt like I needed to find meaning to my life, beyond just moving my fingers in front of an audience. And I didn't know what that would be, but I started searching. A few years later, I got married. We had a baby a year after that. And for those of you who have had a child, you know that when you have a baby, you start seeing everything through their eyes, as if you're experiencing it for the very first time. And through my daughter's eyes, through Rachel's eyes, I had this idea for a symphony orchestra that would serve children. And I didn't know if it was possible or not, but I had this dream, and it started growing. A couple of years later, I visited North Carolina. I was conducting an opera, and we drove through Pinehurst one Sunday afternoon, this mecca of golf. And we got back to our tiny little apartment in New York City. And right on the edge of Harlem and Manhattan, it cost a fortune. We had one little tiny couch. And my wife and I sat down, and she says, "So when are we moving?" Right? And just like that, a couple of months later, we packed up all of our meager belongings, and we drove south. And it was the most courageous, visionary, stupid thing I've ever done in my life. And I got down here, we put together an orchestra, some of the top musicians from all across the state. We scheduled the concert. It was time for the concert to start. I'm about to raise the baton. I look outside and I survey the audience, right? And there are 3 people. 2 of them were comped. The one person who actually bought a ticket, he was a critic who drove down over an hour from Raleigh. And this was a total failure, right? And I should have left right then. But instead of leaving, I went out into the community and I said, look, I've demonstrated that I know how to fail, right? I demonstrated that I have no idea what I'm doing. I don't know how to start a business. I don't know how to run an orchestra. I just have this vision for doing this. Please help me. Please be my missing piece. And I'd never done that before because I was too proud to do that. But I put myself out there. And somehow, a couple of days later, I get a call. Then I start getting emails. And within a year, we had 100 volunteers helping run the Carolina Philharmonic. And it was amazing. My vision became our vision. And together we started accomplishing things. The first year we served 25 kids, local kids. The second year, 50 kids. The year after that, we doubled again to 100. Then we started getting more ambitious. We jumped from 100 to 1,200. The year after that, we jumped from 1,200 to 4,000. Now, this is just in a few short years, we were serving all these kids, and I developed a program called Encore Kids. It's an interactive orchestral experience program. And I developed it reaching out to educators across the United States. And I put it together. I showed it to my daughter, who was now in second grade. This was a K through 2 program, so she was my target audience. I was really proud of it. I showed it to her. She said, "Daddy, you totally don't get second graders." Right? I said, well, what's wrong with it? And then she started giving me $1,000 an hour consultation about what I needed to do to fix this program. So I took her advice. I think I still owe her now that I mention it. But I took her advice, I changed the program, and we launched it. And so, putting myself out, being that missing piece, we transformed it into this program, Encore Kids. And I want to give you just a taste of what it's like when all these kids come together for the final culminating concert.
Any of you know a song called Twilight?
1, 2, 3, 4. I can be anything if I strive and we will soar.
What's your name? Michaela? What grade are you in? What school are you at? Pinehurst Elementary? All right, come on. Do you know how to read the orchestra score? All right. Let's bring it up for you. Okay, let's make out 4. Great. 1, 2, 3. Let's keep it going like that. With a body chop.
Does anybody recognize this music? What do you know this from? Into the Woods.
We've now brought these programs to almost 14,000 children in just a few years, and we're now launching Encore Kids also in Virginia. But we don't do this for thousands of kids, we do it for individual kids, and every child has a story to tell about what the music means to them. There was a mother who came up to one of our board members and says, my son, this year he's in 4th grade, last year he was in 3rd grade, he was doing fine, but when he got into 4th grade, somehow he started shutting down. And I would ask him how his day went, and he didn't really respond, and his teachers were concerned, and I was concerned. And one day in December, he comes home from school, and he has this recorder, right? And he says, Mom, I just got this as a gift today from the local orchestra, and I need to learn how to play it. So he started practicing, and from that day on, the change was phenomenal. The mom says the teacher called her up and said, I don't know what's happened to him, but this is a new kid. And she said, you've not only given him back a love of music, you've not given him a love of music, but you've given him back his love of learning, and you've given us back our relationship. There's another girl, 6 years old, and she was so excited about the Encore Kids program. She brought the workbook home with her too, and she would sing the songs to her mom, and she brought the workbook to bed with her. And there was a story in it that she would have her mom read to her. And this girl was special in that she had a heart condition. She was born with a hole in her heart, and she'd been through lots of operations. And so when I heard about this girl, I said, oh, I've got to meet her. And so she came into the office with her mom, and this little girl, Addie, she comes in, and I said, I've heard all about you, and I wanted to have you come in because I wanted to give you a gift. I said, I'd like you to have this little recorder. And I said, you're too young to play it now, but when you get a little bit older, you'll be able to play it. And so she took it, and she floated out of the office like a little angel. About a week later, her mom calls up and says, Addie hasn't let go of that thing, and she keeps practicing it. She's been practicing it all week. She takes it to bed with her. And get this, she just got her first gig. A solo in the church Christmas play. Right? Now, the narrative changed a bit after this for her. About a month and a half or two, her mom called us up and said, I've just gotten off the phone with Addie's surgeon. And all of the doctors had reviewed her most recent tests. I think they were preparing for her next operation. And he says to her mom, I can't explain what's happened with Addie, but her heart has become whole. Her heart is completely healed. She's just as healthy as any other girl her age. And music has power. Music is magic. My mission is to bring the magic of music to 1 million children in the next 10 years. And I don't know how I'm going to do this, but I'm reaching out to you, I'm reaching out to everybody in the TED community as well, to say, please be my missing piece, and we can make this happen. What's your mission? Is it possible that you might just be one idea away, one step away from finding that missing piece in your life? Could you be the missing piece for somebody near you? What if you were to take just one step in their direction? You might just have the chance to be the missing piece in their life that might make them whole again. Thank you.